All right, let's do a quick mic check. Okay, sounds good. All right. Hope everyone's having a good weekend. Forgot to mute my phone. There we go. All righty. So, going to be working on this painting some more today. I would love to finish this painting today, but realistically probably won't. Hello, I don't know how to pronounce that. Escalate art? Escalate art, maybe? Hi, Julie. Good evening. Good evening to you too. How are you doing? Looking cool, yeah. Thank you. I forgot what you like, if you have a preference as to esque. Okay, got it. My brain with names, I say this every time, but I'm horrible with names, so apologies to anybody and everybody. There we go. Camera's a little laggy today, apparently. So today, let's see, starting off, probably just going to go in and mark it up for a few spots that need it, and then get into like paint, filling it out. Julie says, I'm good. I've been thinking a lot about what you said on Discord channel about proportions. Really useful. Oh, I'm so happy. I'm glad it was helpful. Oh, Lychee. You and your name changes. Okay. You love the perspective on this one? Thank you. I wish I could take full credit for that, but I'm working off a reference. But I did make the choice. So there is that. But yeah, I think the perspective's a lot of fun. I've said this before. I wish that the image I was working from was more in focus. Everything was in focus, because then I could do it so that the feet would be the only thing in focus and the face would be blurry. Uh, just because I think that would be such a funny painting to do, where you have the face right up front, and yet, you paint it blurry and make the feet the main focus. Uh, Michi says, sorry for the confusion. Oh, it's fine. I'm just, like I said, I just struggle with names generally speaking, so I feel bad when I get it wrong. And let's see. Everything should be dry, I think. Yeah. Feet as the main focus would be an interesting compositional choice. Yeah, it would be. Julie says, yeah, reference pictures do make or break a painting, right? Yeah, they definitely are a huge factor to it. Um, Absolutely. I do think you can make decent paintings out of bad reference photos, um, but it's definitely an uphill battle. Whereas if you have great reference photos, it already sets you up for so much success. Julie says, but in focus, feet only might be a bit radical though. I mean, some people have done paintings of feet, like that's a thing that people do. You know, Even Nicholas Uribe's done a few paintings like that. So, feet are very much like hands in a lot of ways. So they can convey so much about a person. But in this case, it wouldn't actually be doing that because her feet don't necessarily convey anything in particular. So that's why it's not really a good fit for it. It's just me being silly, I guess. Hey, Des, good to see you. Ah, sorry I missed you in the other chat. All right. Hi, Laura. Uh, Sorry, Luis. Almost missed it. Good to see you. And Luigi says Nico's feats are godlike. You mean the painting, but that sounded weird. Yeah, no, his feet paintings are really great. He has a couple, I think. But he has one of his father, and it just it conveys so much, and that's why I'm saying like this one wouldn't actually pull that off because it's not actually conveying anything. So because of that, it's not really appropriate to do it. But still would be funny, you know. And I am not opposed to doing certain things just for the lulz, as it were. Julie says, I might look at feet differently then. Hopefully, mine don't convey much about me at the moment. I recently broke my ankle. Oh, that sucks. I'm sorry to hear that. Oh shoot. Excuse me for a second, everyone. I'm so sorry to do this so early in the thing, but I have to take a very quick break to take care of something. Sorry, 1 second. I'll be back in like 2, 3 minutes. Hello, sorry about that. I had to take care of something real quick. I thought it was happening later. Anyways, how's everyone doing? I try to space breaks out appropriately, but sometimes sometimes it can't be helped. Hey Zan, welcome. You haven't decided what you're working on today? Oh, I hope you have something fun to work on. I went painting outside. Well, not outside, but out of my home yesterday. I went to a what's it called? Uh, Model workshop. I guess workshop's not the right word. Model session. So I got to paint live from a model. It was a lot of fun. Um, I do like painting. It's very challenging, but I do like painting from a model. Michi's going to be working on a digital portrait in Procreate. Awesome. Here, let me get my painting from yesterday. I can show you all. I took my little pochade box with me. This is one I got from a seller on eBay. It's a hold on. There we go. So this little pochade box I got from a seller on eBay for like 50 bucks. And it's a really good deal. It's not the best push-on box in the world, but it is really cool. And it does have a little spot for wet panels. They're small, they're 6x8, but still nice. Yeah, I got this a while ago. It has a it has a tension hinge on the back, which is really cool, and a spot underneath it for the what's it called? For a uh, tripod, camera tripod. That's what I was looking for. You can. I don't know if the guy's still selling them, but he was selling them. He retrofits cigar boxes all the time, so he might still be selling them on eBay. The thing is, it's not hard to retrofit it like this. It's just I priced out all the materials, and it actually would cost more to make a single one. But if you made like multiple ones, the price drops significantly. So, because when you buy some of these things, they just come in packs. So it's like you buy hinges and it's like multiple hinges at a time, you know, so stuff like that. Des was saying she spent hours doing digital last night. Fun project. Nice. But yeah, this was wait, let me get the glare off of it. I'm trying to. Okay, there we go. Yeah, fun little portrait I did yesterday. A Prashad box business sounds fun to start. Yeah, if you're into woodworking, absolutely. There's a few different companies or few different people who make different types of painting boxes or plein air easel type of thing. But yeah, nice portrait. Thank you. Appreciate that. There's a, you know, it's a 3 hour session with breaks. But yeah, I think it came out pretty good. Trying to get glare off of it, but yeah. So the little part on top that isn't painted is because there was a clamp holding it in place. So I think what I'll try and do is when it dries, I'll try and uh, I'll try and kind of fill out uh, you know, some of that. Yeah. Yeah, I think when it dries, I'll try and fill in the like the missing spot on top. But yeah. Des is talking about her portrait project. Um, yeah, that's a really cool project. Yeah, Des, I told you when you have more information, when you have like something to share about it, I'm happy to share about it. I think it's a cool project. So for anyone who isn't familiar with this, I'm just oiling out right now. And all this does is I'm putting a layer of gel oil. It's just linseed oil in gel form. Oleo gel is what I'm using. And the purpose of this is just to make my paint go on as if it was more as if it was like wet into wet versus on the dry surface. That's really all I'm doing right now. Oleo gel. Oleo gel. Um, oh, I forgot to move the camera back. Sorry. Yeah. Um, sorry about that. Yeah, I'm just putting some oleo gel on. Does that has silica in it or not? I don't know. I'll be honest, I don't know. Um, Not sure if it says on it if it does or doesn't. It doesn't have any solvent in it though. So this is all it is. This is okay, this is talking about her project. She's doing portraits of volunteers at an from a safe injection site, and they're doing it for a fundraiser, which is really cool. Oh, so the sitters are people who work at the center or people who use the services, which is really, I think that's really awesome. Yeah, that's such a cool project. It's wild what applications art can have in this world. Yeah, absolutely. I've said this before. I really do think if there was um, more emphasis on art in general, like I think it would just make the world a better place. Honestly, like it's so beneficial for people to do. It's not the only thing that's beneficial, of course, but it's just overall it's so beneficial. I've never talked to anybody who has given it a chance, like for real, who hasn't enjoyed it. And I've never met a child who doesn't enjoy making art. So I'm just like, how is this thing that's feels so fundamental to who we are? How is this not as like focused on or popular in society? It's such a weird thing to me. Um, oh, absolutely, Lychee. Lychee's going to post their art in the Discord. They've been doing family portraits lately. That's awesome. So right now I'm just going to hit some spots that need some fixing. I'm putting down marks that I can't even see right now. I need to go back over them. There we go. Julie says family portraits are tough, lots of expectations and high standards and different tastes as to realism too. Oh, absolutely. Also, if you're doing portraits with multiple people in it, that it's so much more challenging too. Single portraits are so much easier than like group ones. And people also have the expectation like they want to look good in portraits and stuff like that, and it's like uh some people are unreasonable about that. It's like if you paint them or draw them accurately, it's like, well, where's the Instagram filter to make them to make them look better? Like, uh and she says, also, I agree, Liad. So many people can enjoy art when they get into it. It's great. Absolutely. Julie says, I'm doing family portraits of dead people. They can't complain. It's true. They can't. Um, I just saw a thing on photography recently. I was watching some videos on photography, and they went into when um, photography, when, quote unquote, and this is not real, but when ghosts started appearing in photography, uh, that happened when, as soon as like double exposures were technically capable. So you could take a photo and then expose again to have someone, ghost in the background or something like that. That's like literally how that started. Um, but also apparently photographs of family members with their deceased loved ones was a thing too in the early days of photography. Um, and it's kind of creepy to see because the photos, the what's it called, the dead people in the photos are actually more in focus than the live people. Oh, hold on. Okay, I'm missing. I think this is they're talking about something else right now in chat. Anyways, but yeah, because the back when photography was new, the exposure time needed to be so long. The people would move slightly in the photographs, but the dead people wouldn't. And so they were actually more in focus than the people who were alive, which is just weird. It wasn't considered as creepy at the time. They used to do masks as well. Oh no, it wasn't considered creepy at the time at all. Absolutely. It was just one of the things that they did, you know. And I get it because, at the time, photography was new and not everybody was able to do photographs all the time like we are today, like we can today. And so if that could literally be the only photograph they would have of that individual. So I get that. I totally understand. Also, the living room at one point was not called the living room, and uh, they would host funerals there and keep the the deceased there for like a week or so, um, to like say goodbye and stuff like that, depending on the culture, of course. Different cultures go about it differently. Julie says in sculptures, all our kings were sculpted once dead. Really? Well, at least I guess, it's a time-consuming process, and they could stay still for it. So yeah. Julie says, we still keep deceased people in France if they die home. Really? Interesting. I didn't know that. Lychee says her grandma died in our home, and she was there a little before they did the burial stuff, just so people could say goodbye. Yeah. Fun is to sculpt a portrait of dead king. They can't chop your head off if you don't make them handsome. True. True. I wonder how much that actually happened. Like, I wonder how many. I get the feeling that probably wasn't as common of a occurrence as what's it called? As popular media makes it out to seem. But yeah, in media they make it seem like, you know, kings would just throw a tantrum at any little thing. I wonder what it was really like. To my knowledge, only Louis the um, fifth and his wife. Is it the no, not the fifth. Um, wait, why XV? Wouldn't it be ele no, the 15th? It took me a second there. 16th. Wouldn't 10V be? Oh, is there an I there as well? Oh, okay, I couldn't see that. I couldn't see that from here. Fair enough. I missed the I. It is like 3 feet away from me, so it got mixed up with other letters. Speaking of getting beheaded for bad sculpting, did I see the prank sculpture they did of David Beckham that was so ugly and he had to pretend he liked it? Wait, the one with his, yes, but I didn't think that was I didn't think that was a prank. I thought that was real. The one with the weird buggy eyes? I thought that one was real. I see you found it online. It's terrifying. Yeah. It's definitely a funny one. There's a fake one and a real one? Interesting. After the Ronaldo fiasco, they pranked some other people with bad ones. Oh, that's funny. That's great. Uh, I cannot wake up today. It's so I apologize if I'm low energy today. I just cannot seem to wake up today. Oh yeah. So yesterday when I went to the painting um to the model session, I got there and as I get there I realize I brought my paints, but I forgot to bring blue. So I had chromatic black, uh, um, not rose, but magenta, um, and then Windsor red and Windsor yellow, and and white, and that was it. I forgot my blue. Someone there probably would have let me have some of theirs, but chromatic black is actually a mix, a pre-mixed color, and it's phthalo emerald and quinacridone rose mixed together. And so when you mix yellow with it, it turns green, and uh, when you mix magenta with it, it goes purple. So I was able to manage it with those with those options. It just goes to show that sometimes a mixed color has advantages over like a single pigment color. Zenza's stretching your color mixing muscles. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I was lucky that I had the Windsor red with me. So I actually was running into a problem where my I'm used to using rose, quinacridone rose in my painting, and quinacridone rose is a fantastic color. Um, quinacridone magenta, however, which is PR 122, um, the pigment code for it, is not nearly as flexible and versatile as quinacridone rose is. And so I was running into the problem that I could not get uh, the warm mixtures that I was trying to with the colors I had. Luckily, I had Windsor Red, which is Windsor Red, if I'm not mistaken, is it's a mixed color of like Pyrrole Red and another one that's similar to Pyrrole Red. So can't remember the pigment codes exactly. It's like 255 and something else. But yeah, so that kind of saved me and let me get the warms that I really needed. Because without that, I was going to it was going to be a very muted warm, like the warms were going to be much more muted. I mean, if I had to, I could, of course, like I said, I could probably get some ultramarine blue from someone because most people have ultramarine blue with them. Um, or I could have just leaned completely into like super limited value colors. Like I could have theoretically I could have just used my black, my white, and my magenta and yellow and just, pushed it so I could have like uh I could have just those four colors I could have pushed into a whole painting because you have obviously gray, black and white, gray, yellow, magenta, you can get that to a warmish red, but it's still kind of muted. But then you can also go purple and green with the added black. So that gives you a wide variety of colors. It's just not, the traditional kind of colors. I will put it that way. But that could be fun. Absolutely. That could be a fun palette to work with. In hindsight, I'm actually almost regretting it because that actually sounds like fun. Maybe I'll do a study like that just for the fun of it on stream. But yeah, painting from a model is it's it's really good to get out there and do that again. It's been too long that I've done that regularly. I'm happy I got a chance to do that. By the way, for me, for instance, it was only $10 to go to this place. So the reason I mentioned that is that's a pretty average price-wise for a lot of these things. So if you have an art school in your area, an arts or like a community art studio or something like that, there's a good chance that they'll offer something similar for a similar price, which is it's totally worth it if you have the option. If you don't, get your friends to model for you. The reason painting from life is an important thing. Don't get me wrong. Using photographs for projects is totally valid. I'm not going to be one of those people who's like, oh, it has to be all from life. Not at all. But you do get to learn a lot doing it from life, especially the things I think that you learn aside from like learning anatomy and all that stuff is color range, you know, how much variations we all have in our skin tones. The what's it called? The there's I can't remember the name of it, but cameras are limited in how much they can see from dark to light. Dynamic range, that's the word I was looking for. The dynamic range of our eyes compared to cameras. And also one of the big things that people don't, think about is when you're looking at a photo, it's already processed for you, obviously. And the it's a 2D image, but when you're looking at things in real life, you're seeing it with both eyes, so you have the stereoscopic vision happening, and that changes the edges. So unless you start looking at everything with one eye closed, or you just happen to only have one eye, you're looking at everything, uh, stereoscopically, which changes the edges a lot. And so having to focus on a particular area and then focus on another area is something that is very challenging, but also worth working at and getting better at, because then you can also mimic that effect a bit when you're painting from a photo. So it looks less like you painted from a photo and more like something that just happened in life, which I think is cool. All right, I really need to address the face. I feel like even if I get the face wrong, I need to address it just so it's not like sticking out the way that it is currently. Because right now, all that like weird light stuff is kind of distracting. All right. So I'm slightly cheating here. Um, and what I mean by that is this whole area of the face is super dark. It like in the reference, it is unbelievably dark. I can to the point where like I can barely see what is happening there. So what I did was I lightened up the photo so that I can actually see what I'm looking at, even though I'm not planning on painting it as light as the lightened up version. It's really just so I can see what I'm actually painting. But it does really mess with the colors a lot, so I'm going to have a lot of like guessing of colors, and then adjusting of colors and so on. So yeah, there's a good chance that a lot of these colors will be adjusted one way or another. Like this is looking too rose color to me, but I can also adjust a lot of this later. When working from the model, that was something that's uh, very challenging, which is I could not see all the detail in his face for a lot of it. So I actually was taking what I was seeing, like as far as the general shapes of the shadows and everything, and I was kind of mentally projecting what I know of anatomy onto it based off of, you know, what what I was seeing. But yeah, that's always challenging when you literally can't see what you're supposed to be painting. I mean, the obvious answer is just paint what you see in those scenarios, because you're never going to be wrong, technically speaking, if you just paint what you see. But if you want to if you want to be able to add in more to it, then you have to know what it is you're painting, or what's supposed to be there, kind of thing. And that's definitely the type of thing that you get from experience. The more you do it, the better you'll be at it. I'd be a lot better at it if I did it more often. So there's a little reflected light happening here, but it is important to remember when dealing with reflected light that the reflected light should never be lighter than um, basically anything in the light area. Like anywhere that's lit by direct light should always be brighter than anywhere that has reflected light, with probably some weird exceptions, but generally speaking. There's hold on. This says, why did they change YouTube? I mean, there's nowhere now to hit a like button. It's just stream and then recommended under. I'm at a loss. Huh? I don't know. I have no idea. That's weird. Let's see. Oh, there's a like button still, or at least I see it. Oh, lychees. These are great. Good job. Lychee, you're doing a great job with these portraits and the studies. Yeah, it does. I opened it on my thing and I saw a like button. I don't know what's going on with you with YouTube. I like the studies with the like pinkish background or whatever it is, and I like the portrait, the last two portraits that you the the last portrait with the two people in it. I like that one a lot too. It just says on iPad, but I see a like button. Okay. Well, it says I have to go to cinema mode, and then the chat shrinks, and the title and the like button showed up. My recommendations are no longer on the right side under the stream. Oh, I don't know what's going on. Annie asks, where can we see a reference image? For this one, you can't see my reference image. I don't always share my reference image for different reasons. Depends on the circumstances. When I do like portrait artists of the year paint along and stuff like that, obviously I'll be sharing reference images. Um, but yeah, I don't share reference images all the time for numerous reasons. One of them being I don't always have the right to like redistribute the image. Even if I can use it for a painting, I don't have the right to like redistribute it, kind of thing. No, this one is not a found photography one. Um, yeah, and the found photography ones I don't share because I don't know who the people are in it, so I'd rather not do that. I'm trying to be like cautious about it. But yeah, no, this one I got off of uh, Unsplash, um, and I don't remember what the license there is. I know I can use it, the painting. I know I can use the reference, but I don't know if I can like technically redistribute it. So I don't remember. The other thing too, a lot of times, and this is something that I don't mind with artists a lot because I think artists have a better understanding of things. Not better understanding, more experience, so they understand where I'm coming from. But a lot of times people will be more concerned with getting the likeness perfect and getting everything like correct. And sometimes I don't care about that, because that is not the focus. I don't know who this person is. I don't care about their likeness. I'm using it as a reference, but at some point I will stop caring how closely accurate it is to them. And it says, interesting, that makes sense. I really enjoy your videos. Thanks. Absolutely, no problem at all. Julie says, do you ever take reference photos of what you want? And Lychee says, I will check on Splash. Yeah. I've taken photo references myself. I've taken either photo references of myself, uh, or I've taken photos. I've had friends who modeled for me, um, and I've done paintings of them based off of those photos. And I've also taken photos of family members and just used those as well. And yeah, hi Annie. Sorry if I didn't say hello earlier. I was focused on answering your question, but hello, welcome. Just to throw this out there, I'm not sure exactly when we'll be doing it, but next Portrait Artist of the Year paint along, it will have to be um, in May or June. May at the earliest, yeah. Julie says, I'm doing a 100-day project right now with oil pastel portraits, and I'm happy to have access to the Draw Bringington reference library. But without this, I'd be stuck. Oh, wow, that sounds crazy. Yeah, Unsplash and Pixabay are two good resources for reference photos. They're not great reference photos, but you know, you have to really take your time and search for ones that make for a good painting because too often they're very photography based. Like they look for, front lighting, strong front lighting, uh, not a lot of shadows, not good form, all that stuff. So you have to be careful about that. But yeah. Julie says the sketchy ones I sometimes like, but it's a lot of um wait, but it's a lot of work to look for them, especially for the daily ones. Yeah. Julie says, right, pretty ones. Yes, of course. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, photography and portrait and, reference photos. Like what makes for a good reference photo for a painting and what makes for a good photography image aren't always the same. So that is one of the challenges of finding reference. I've literally spent hours upon hours searching for images, and I'll download a bunch and then I'll never use them because I like download them to see if I can turn them into something, and too often I just can't. So I just, don't do anything with them. This eye might end up just being completely blacked out because honestly, in the reference photo, it kind of looks like that. Like you said, soft diffuse lighting can be the devil at times. Yeah, yeah, it just depends. You can, you can overcome these things, but sometimes it's a lot more work than it's worth kind of thing. Um, yeah. Yeah, it can just be it can be very challenging and not in the good way of challenging, in the way of like, you know, how can I put this? If I give I don't know, I don't know what analogy, but yeah, just sometimes it's just not a good challenge. It's, just one that makes life harder for no reason. Dan said, posted an underdrawing on Discord. Now to paint. Yes, paint. Yeah, let me show you all something real quick. While I take a short break to drink some more coffee because I cannot wake up to save my life today. Um, but yeah, let me show you this. So this painting here, this painting I got from Unsplash, or yeah, Unsplash. Um, I mean the reference photo for this painting. The background stuff was just like bokeh balls from from the photo, and I didn't want to paint bokeh balls, like, because you can't. There's a painter who does that. I can't remember his name right now, but he takes photographs at night with like low depth of field, so you get all those like bokeh balls in the background, and he'll paint them like that and make it look like that. But that makes his paintings look like photographs, right? Or paintings of photographs, which they are. I didn't want to do that, so I went with crazy impasto fun stuff, right? But if you look at the lighting on the face here, this was not the best reference photo to work from. I think I pulled it off. Like, I think I made the painting work, but it was so much extra work to get this to look good. But when I looked at the photo, it looked great. Um, you know. Uh Lychee asks, is it Jeremy Mann or something? No, Jeremy Mann doesn't do bokeh balls. I'm trying to remember who it is. He's a much tighter painter than Jeremy Mann. Jeremy Mann's much looser. Um, yeah. You love the impasto? Thank you. I like the impasto too. I'm trying to get more into doing impasto. I like the extra dimensionality it brings to things. And also, are you painting on the paper with oils? That one's painted on Yupo paper. This is also paper. I can't remember what kind of paper this is. I always treat if I paint on paper, I treat it. I always put acrylic, matte medium, or gesso. Usually matte medium, but something. I won't paint directly. I won't paint directly on paper anymore. I've tried it. I hate it. Yeah, I'm not a fan of painting directly onto paper. You're not supposed to. technically, I don't know. I get mixed info on that. But it feels so bad. It's so dry. I hate it. Lychee says I gotta try Yupo. Yupo is Yupo's very challenging. Um, it's a very weird medium to work, a very weird surface to work on. I don't know. I'm on the fence about it, honestly. I like working on it. Yeah, but I'm on the fence about it. I definitely don't hate it. I just don't know that I'd recommend it for everybody because of uh, like the weird properties that it has and how people might feel working on it. But yeah. Nietzsche says I also hated working on paper. It dries it out so fast. Yeah, it sucks away like a paper towel. Yeah, yeah. I hate working on paper too. It feels so dry. But there are advantages to that too, right? Like first of all, the painting dries a lot faster, and second, you can layer a lot easier theoretically without because it dries so fast. You can layer quicker. I still hate it. Just feels so bad to work on paper. I hate painting directly on paper. That's why I like using acrylic matte medium. I put that on a I can put that on a lot of surfaces, and then everything just feels the same no matter if it's no matter what kind of paper it is, no matter what kind of wood it is, whatever. I don't put it on everything because I'm lazy and some things are pre like gessoed and feel fine, so why bother? But overall, yeah, uh, I do use it a lot. You don't know how Nicholas does it, lol. So Nicholas Uribe, for those who don't know, he paints directly on un, untreated paper, and he likes the feeling of the dry surface. It lets him layer much quicker and work into it a lot more. Yeah. Des says, okay, I found a video saying that YouTube changed its its UI and how you can fix it back to the way it was. So I was taking care of that. No problem. Julie says, I've used cameras in a block and oh, you used canvas in a block and quite liked it. You're trying oil paper this week. Can't wait to feel the difference. Okay, was what oil? Okay, hold on a second. Let me ask you this. What canvas in a block were you using? Out of curiosity, do you know the name? And is the paper you're using? Is it this? Because I've tried this. I don't like this. I can make it work now because like I said, I cover it with acrylic matte medium, but I hate this. You would need to check. You don't have the canvas with you. That's fair. Um, I have one where I don't know where it is right now. I have one block of canvases that's like it's like Centurion Deluxe linen ones. Those ones are real nice. Those ones are really, really nice. But that's a real canvas. That's not like fake canvas paper. That's like a real canvas just in a block. Um, Julie says, I ordered Canson oil paper. I didn't want to spend bucks on arches for my first time. Fair enough. Let me know what you think about it. I'd love to hear your experience with it. I haven't tried Canson's with it. Uh, Lychee says, I want to try Stonehenge oil paper. I wonder if it's any different. Um, yeah, I don't know. Des says, I'll take a picture of the one I have, posted in Discord. Okay, cool. Yeah, I would love to find a good, you know, I would love to find a good, you know, easy like solution that requires minimal prep time. You know, just grab and paint. Like I would love to find that. So, but I have yet to find a good option for that stuff because like the Centurion canvas block is it almost that, but the problem with it is that you can't like once you paint on it, um, you have a loose canvas then, right? So what do you do with a loose canvas? It's not, it's a little awkward. I mean, you can hang it. You can maybe, I mean, you can definitely stretch it, although they're so small, it's pointless to stretch it. So then it becomes like, it just becomes an awkward thing to like present or put on the wall kind of thing. I don't know. This says I have a painting shipped to me done on canvas sheet like that. It was rolled in a tube and mailed. So much easier than sending a canvas on a frame. Absolutely. Um, that is the advantage of it. It is easier to roll it and ship it that way. But then you run into the problem of how did you put it on the wall, you know? I'm curious, how did you put it on the wall? And Julie says, found it. It's called Cre Crear. Okay, interesting. Nah, allergies. That says I haven't put it on the wall. I suppose I'd have to mount it on something, then frame. It's in the tube currently. Yeah, that's the problem. That's the issue I ran into with that. Julie says, but I have no idea what you're supposed to do with it to show it. Mine is probably going to be in a pile in the corner of my room. Yeah, that's funny. I know where you're coming from with that. A lot of mine are stacked up in my room. Worth mentioning, just going to throw it out there for you and everybody who watches later. All the paintings that are stacked up, some of them, not all of them, are on my website, and you can purchase them if you'd like to take them home. So just going to throw that out there. It feels, just thought I'd mention it. Uh, but yeah, I know where you're coming from. I definitely paint way more than I sell at the moment. So yeah. Um, but that's while my goal is to sell paintings, I don't think that should be the goal. Like, I don't think every painting should be painted with the goal of selling. It's just, that is where I'm at the moment. Um, Leechy says I need to try loose canvas to paint. Sounds fun. It can be. Oh, Julie, thank you. You checked out my website. Thank you very much. Des says sell. What's that? I know, right? But yeah, uh, there's an artist, Stefan Baumann. There's like two Stefan Baumans or Steven Baumans on YouTube. So one's Stefan and one's Steven. I think Steven is the normal one, and Stefan is the one who dresses like a pirate. I'm not sure. I get them confused because their names are so similar. Um, but the pirate guy does make a joke that your paintings are more likely to um, to end up in a what's it called? In a secondhand store or a landfill than they are like, in someone's collection 100 years from now. Um, and he's joking around, but part of the reason he's joking around like that and talking about it is because people are very concerned about, a lot of people are very, very concerned about the longevity of their paintings, and like, will it last 100 years or 200 years? And he's making the point that like it's not going to matter for most paintings, which is sad, of course, in a way, but at the same time, there's some truth to it. Most paintings are no one's going to care 100 years from now. But at the same time, that's not why we paint. At least I don't think that should be the goal of a painting. Julie says I'm secretly planning my kids' inheritance. They'll have to deal with them, right? Just another annoying mom moment that lasts forever. Yeah, right. There you go. You should do some paintings of like extremely embarrassing moments and never show it to anybody, just so that they can come across them when they're going through them. Lily says I have a few reference pictures that I'm keeping for this. Nice. And she says, "Oh, that Portrait Society event is coming up soon. Didn't you say you were going to it for the first time?" Yes, and I will talk about that in a moment. That says I did a painting of my mom and her husband looking out over the river. My son saw it for the first time when he came to visit for Christmas, and he claimed it. He it given it wants it given in the will. Oh, nice. Julie says my mom did a few pranks on me. That's fun. I think that's funny. And yeah, that is sweet, Des. Absolutely. And yeah, the Portrait Society conference is coming up in 2 weeks, and I will be going to that for the first time. And so I will also not be streaming during that time. So you all get a break from me finally. Uh, but yeah, I will not be streaming while at the conference for obvious reasons. I'll probably post on Instagram stories and stuff. I probably won't post any actual Instagram photos. I'll explain that in a minute. But yeah, I will probably post to my Instagram stories. Maybe I'll post some occasionally to Discord, not sure. Um, but yeah, that week I will not be painting, I will not be streaming. Des says no. Yeah, I'm sure Des. Lychee says, I want to go one day so bad. Yeah, that'd be great. Um, there's actually what's it called? A scholarship that you can apply for to to go for free. I didn't know about this, but I highly recommend anyone who wants to go look at that, look into that um, next year. Because it doesn't hurt to apply for a scholarship to go. Like worst case, they say no. You know what I mean? No, nothing. Not a big deal. And she says I need to spy on all the talks. I think you can actually pay for a virtual one if you wanted to, so you can just watch it. But I don't know how much that costs. I'll be honest, no idea. Ooh, scholarships, please. Yeah, I know, right? Um, yeah, I didn't know. Yeah, I didn't even know that was a thing, but apparently it is. So yeah, absolutely. Everyone should apply for the next year. Try, look into it if you want to go. Why not? But yeah. And then the other thing I wanted to mention is I am thinking of trying to change my stream schedule a little. And I wanted to see what people thought about that. And, we'll see about that. I was thinking of changing it, keeping Sundays as is. So Sundays aren't changing at all. Um, but then I was thinking instead of Monday, Wednesday, I was thinking about trying Tuesday, Thursday. It makes me nervous to try for Thursday because Thursday is often really busy at work. So it might be one of those things where I try and I keep having to cancel and I end up having to go back to this schedule. But I did think about trying it and wanted to see if people had any opinions on that. And then Nietzsche says I need to make more traditional art so I can get in if I get it good enough. Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah, they're not very digital friendly as far as I know. You basically it's all traditional medium. And in fact, they're actually very uptight about that. Like you can't use projectors and other things. Like yeah, there's a ton of limitations for the portrait societies, like how they approve things. Yeah, they're very uptight about that stuff. No projectors. Interesting. Yeah, no projectors, no AI, no there's a whole list of like, things you're not allowed to do. But yeah. And that's just for entering, right? Like yeah, obviously you can do those things. This is just for entering their like competition, and I don't know about I'm assuming that applies to their scholarship probably just as well, but I'm not positive about that. All right. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, like I said, I won't stream during that week. But yeah, if, I think, I think I'll put a. I don't know how best to do this. Should I just put a poll up in the Discord about the streaming days, or should I just give it a shot and see how it goes? Yeah, I wish I could what's it called? Stream the event for you all, but they charge to stream, so they sell it as a streaming service. So I don't think they would like me to like stream the event to everybody, unfortunately. Is this palette just yellow, red, and blue? No, it is. I mean, it is, but it also is white and black. Although this particular reference doesn't have a lot of blue in it, so yeah, it's titanium white, yellow, cad lemon, uh, quinacridone rose, phthalo blue, and Mars black. That's the palette. Hello, Bubble Bubble Kawa. I'm going with Bubble until you say otherwise. Hi, Bubble. Welcome. Yeah, this is my normal palette. I paint like 99% of my paintings with this palette. There's almost yeah, there's almost nothing. Like there's almost no instance where I need anything else. There are, but not many. Not many instances. Yeah, it's such a versatile palette that I can hit most you know most saturation and most variety that I need basically. It comes with some disadvantages, of course, but yeah. The Hellboy color is nice. It is very nice. I love the quinacridone rose is such a beautiful color. It's technically a violet, but sometimes it's called quinacridone rose or sometimes quinacridone red. But technically speaking, the pigment's a violet pigment. Bubble says, I never paint traditional painting, but seems good work. Thank you. And yeah, I used to be all digital for a while as well, so I'm very versed in digital. I work in all digital at work, but for my personal stuff, I prefer to do oil painting. I highly recommend trying it out. It doesn't have to be oils, anything. A traditional medium is just it's so satisfying to have a finished product in your hands that, you painted start to finish. It seems to be same process as digital painting. Uh, Fundamentally, yes. There's obviously the details of it are different, but fundamentally, yes, absolutely. It took a long time for me to get a handle on the oil paint so that I would do what I wanted it to do. That was the big challenge in the beginning. It was like I knew what I wanted to do and it just wouldn't do it, and I couldn't get it to work properly. Um, but once that once I got past that, um, things started really falling into place. If my English is bad, it's not my main language. Hey, no worries. No worries. My English is bad too. It is my main language, but it's still bad. Before oils, I tried a bunch of different mediums. So there's all kinds of things you can paint with. Watercolor, gouache, acrylics, ton of options out there. I tried most of them. We are two then? Yeah, we are the same, exactly. Just so you know, I'm also streaming on YouTube, and on YouTube, at the moment, there's a few more people in chat. So if you hear me talking to people and you're wondering, who am I talking to? It's people on YouTube chat. Hey, Des. Des says it's quite similar. You find laying down shapes and colors the same, then doing small details very similar. It's just getting used to the paint and the brushes. They are different. Absolutely. And there's other aspects of it that function differently, like how you can layer and work back and work in and out of things, of course, are different because digital is, there's no limitations on that stuff. Whereas with certain mediums, you are a little bit more limited with what you can do as far as like um, you have to deal with the meat, the real aspect of it. For instance, with oil paint, the paint doesn't dry right away. So you're stuck with a wet painting until it dries, and you either have to paint through the wetness or on top of the wetness, um, or you have to scrape it off or wait for it to dry, whereas in digital, none of those things apply. And with acrylics, it just dries almost instantly, and so you can't blend as well. But you can use mediums, and so on. There's just all the like real aspects of it that are an issue. Bubble says, yes, I use only one brush, but I agree with you. Yeah. That says, yeah, layering is helpful, but I don't know how all the tricks and tools of digital programs. So I wing it, just a layer or two, and there's no tricks. Yeah, but even on the same layer, you can paint on top of itself without it interacting with what's underneath it. And then there's the whole like pressure to opacity thing. A lot of people digitally they paint with pressure set to opacity, and that's not exactly how real paint works. And that was something that took a while to get used to. But yeah, when I first started digital painting, I would paint with like I don't know how many layers. I was painting with like, you know, like I said, I don't even know how many, just 20 layers. I don't know, something crazy. Like it was a ton of layers. And then as I got better at painting, I would end up painting just I'd paint everything on one layer, and I'd have multiple layers, but they were all just copies in case I wanted to like go back a few steps, but I literally almost never did. And then eventually I just, like I said, I just went over to traditional painting anyways, so that all just kind of ended. Lychee says, when I'm doing digital, I usually make a palette similar to painting traditional so you can mix colors and layers on the canvas and then color pick for larger swaths of the mix. Yeah, that semi works. You used to use the color wheel, but it becomes annoying at times. It definitely does. Bubbles says, yeah, I use the basic brush and use Blender to spread the colors. Yeah. Yeah, that's very common way of doing it. I you know what? I'll say this. I recently um like last year I had my iPad with me. I wasn't home. I was on a trip and I tried to paint digitally with my iPad and I found it so unbelievably frustrating. I was really surprised that I found it so frustrating, but like it was just this weird thing where suddenly all the things I wanted to do in oil paints, like it just wouldn't, it just didn't feel right. And after a while, I just got really frustrated with it and stopped even trying. And so I just limited myself just to sketching. And I wouldn't even try to paint with it because I was just like, this is just not working the way I want it to. Yeah. Um, Nietzsche says I do the same too, almost one layer and copies for mistakes and chances. Yeah. iPad does feel weird. Yeah. Uh, Bubble says for big work, I use around 150 layers. Jeez. So I understand using a ton of layers when working digitally, especially if you're working on a production. Like I know I have friends who work uh, in production work, and I totally get why they use a ton of layers. But because a lot of their stuff ends up having to be broken up into multiple like planes and needs to be like used separately, and they do a lot of effects on it and so on. But yeah. Uh, Michi says, I think maybe using heavy paint may be better though instead of Procreate. I think it depends. I, heavy paint, I think heavy paint's great, but I don't think it's good for everything. Um, like I will say I haven't seen there's a few people who pull it off, but I haven't seen a ton of people who pull off like portraits in heavy paint, right? I'm sure there are some people who do, but it's a lot more difficult. Um, and then there's other things too. If you wanted to do like, uh, you know, any kind of like let's say you wanted to do quick sketch figure drawing, heavy paint isn't really, I don't think ideal for that. Um, yeah. uh, like I said, I think Heavy Paint's a fantastic app, but I don't know that it's for everything. Okay, I think I'm gonna stop fiddling with this part of the face for now and just leave it alone. It clearly needs more work, but sometimes just coming back, giving things a break and coming back to it is very helpful. So the face is getting there. It's still not there, but I'm going to take a break because I feel like I'm not actually improving it at the moment anymore. So I will take a break from fiddling with that and move on to different areas. Let's see. Uh, Nietzsche says, yeah, heavy paint lends itself more towards landscape stuff. It does. Des says, fiddle, fiddle, fiddle. You're thinking he was a musician, right? Uh, but Nietzsche says, interior, exterior. But I've seen many great portrait people use it. LOL. Yeah, you can absolutely. It's just like I said, it doesn't lend itself to that naturally kind of thing. That's all. That's the thing, right? Like there is this painter, and I will not have any clue what this painter's name is, but there is this painter that I saw in a magazine once that did these beautiful what's it called? Fantasy scenes, and it looked like oil painting or something, but it was watercolor, right? But you couldn't tell it was watercolor. It didn't have any of the telltale signs of watercolor, which means that this person just worked so hard, just so hard to get past all those effects. Um, that watercolor, lends itself to naturally. Um, so you can do those things. It's just a matter of like how difficult or easy it is. Rinska says, good evening. Love the dark and light. Do you paint from reference? Yes, I do paint from reference. This particular reference is from Unsplash, but I usually paint from reference. Sometimes it's a few pieces of, it's a few references combined. Just depends. But yes. Have I used Rebel? I have. I didn't like it. The effects it does are really good. It just felt, how can I put this? They were trying too hard to make it real, but it's not real, so it just kind of fault, like it's just there's too much of a disconnect. So to give an example, um, they tried to do it so that you can tilt the virtual canvas. So when you work with water, it like it like slides down, and depending on the tilt, it can go one way or another, and so on. Just like if you were using, watercolors. Um, the only problem is with the only difference is with watercolors, you can just grab your canvas or paper or whatever and move it when you need to, and you can move it to where you want, paint into it, and then move it and so on. But the program doesn't have that physicality built into it. Maybe now it can with tablets, but it's probably still a little janky. And so it just didn't feel there. It just felt too like you have to move around a bunch of dials while you paint, and I'm just like, I don't want to be messing with dials while I'm painting, kind of thing. Personally, that's my. But the tech looked pretty good. Like I'm not saying anything negative about the tech itself specifically. Lychee is getting pigments to stay put in watercolor sounds tough. I wonder if he did it in one go. Yeah, I don't know. That artist, I wish I remembered their name. It was the paintings were so good. Literally, like I looked at it and I was like, I can't tell that this is watercolor. Like none of the like blooming or staining or any of that. Um, so I do wonder if they used like really dry watercolor, although it didn't look like I didn't see any dry brushing, but it was years and years ago, so maybe I didn't see good enough, or maybe the reproduction wasn't good enough. I don't know. But yeah, it was impressive. I remember looking at it being like this looks amazing, and then I looked at the like the information card underneath it, and I was just like, wait, this is watercolor? This looks like oil paint. And then I remember seeing another oil painter who painted like watercolors. And that was also very beautiful because oil paint has a luminosity to it that watercolors don't. And so it it just had this like glow to it that was so good. It looked amazing. I really hope they had enough ventilation to do that because I can't imagine how much like uh, you know how much turpentine or turpenoid they had to use to pull that off. Oh, you had to use terps. If not terps, something like terps. Gamsol. I consider Gamsol and terps the same thing, even though they're not exactly identical. They function very similar to each other. But yeah, I can't, like I would if I ever did something like that, I would have to do it outside. Like I can't imagine the fumes must have been like horrendous. I am curious to try out a new medium that's supposed to work kind of like terps, only with no you know, no dangerous fumes. So we'll see if I can get my hands on that and I can give you all a review on it, tell you what I think about it. It's a solvent or thin solvent-free medium. It's a solvent-free medium that functions like a solvent, and then they also have other mediums that use it. Yeah, if you're interested, it's Michael Harding's miracle medium. You know, I know they're real subtle with the naming convention there, but yeah. Only problem is it's not super um, easy to find at the moment. I mean, it's on their website. I could probably just buy it from their website, but like I can't get it from any of the like normal online sellers that I buy from. Oh, they have multiple consistencies. Yeah, so they have it's Miracle Medium and then Miracle Medium 1, 2, 3, 4. I think they go up to 5, and each one has like a different has different stuff mixed into it to make it do different things, which is all great. But the one that I really care about the most is just like the basic version of it. Like the rest of it, I don't care that much about personally. But yeah, they have one with wax and they have one with uh I can't remember all the different ones, but yeah, they have different consistencies. One speeds up the drying, one I think slows down the drying, one does impasto. You know, they have all the stuff. But the thinning down as if it's what's it called? Solvent. That's the one I care about the most. Very exciting. We'll see, right? Like have to I'm excited to try it, but I'm also hesitant to be overly like, uh overly excited about it. Also, they're keeping it proprietary, and I hate that. I understand why they're doing it, but I hate it. Like they're keeping the formula a secret. And like I said, I understand why you would do that if you truly came up with something new. I still don't like it. It reminds me of like old school painters that had like their own like recipes and everybody kept everything a secret and it was this big thing at the time. And like, I don't know, I feel like we've kind of outgrown that, but clearly we haven't. Uh, Rincy says, I use water-soluble oil paint, but I don't understand the difference between painting mediums, linseed oil and thinner. I don't use oil paint for that long. Could you explain? Absolutely. Um, so, um, so the way it works is the paint in the tube has an oil with it. Usually it's linseed oil. Some companies use walnut oil or poppy seed oil. That doesn't really matter. It's just a vehicle for the paint, right? Like that's just what it comes in. That's what makes it oil paint. Whereas if it was acrylic, then the the pigment's bound in acrylic. If it's watercolor, it's gum arabic. If it's casein paint, then it's in casein, right? So that's just the like oil that it's bound in. So some paint manufacturers they put more oil in and some put less oil in. And so uh, sometimes when the paint comes out of the tube, it's really, really stiff. And you can add oil to it to make it move a little better and be more fluid. Um, and then also if you add a lot of oil, you can thin it. Technically you're not thinning it down, but you can make it more translucent, right? Because you're spreading the pigment apart. You're watering it down with oil, but you're not you know what I'm saying. Um, so that's what oil does. So thinner or solvent, which is most of the time referred to, solvent is like turpentine or mineral spirits or Gamsol, which is also a mineral spirit, if I'm not mistaken. It's a material like it's the basically like turpentine. There's just some are less dangerous and less toxic than turpentine is. And you don't have to use them, but it's very helpful. The reason it's so helpful is because it thins down the paint and it can bring it down to the consistency of I don't know if I'd say water, but whatever turpentine consistency is, it can bring it down to turpentine consistency, right? Which can be very, very useful. The other thing is solvents usually make the paint dry a bit faster, but there's a lot of disadvantages to solvents. Solvents, with the exception of like true turpentine, not even hardware store turpentine, but like pine tree turpentine, I think it is. It breaks down the bonds that build the paint, and so you're making the paint a lot weaker. Also, the fumes and the toxicity is kind of an issue. That's also a consideration. Now, a lot of mediums are just things that you add to your paint, and they do different things. Some of them slow down the drying time, some of them speed it up, some of them make your paint thicker, some of them make it thinner, some of them make it self-leveling so you don't see the strokes, some of them let you do impasto. A medium is just anything you add to your paint to change its properties, basically. A lot of mediums have solvent built into it because of how oil paint is structured. Doing that makes it a lot easier for the solvent to function. Yeah, and then there's this whole concept of fat over lean, which this has to do with the paint film and how the paint dries and keeping it so that it doesn't crack. So oil paint on its own, oil paint doesn't actually dry, it cures, which means it oxidizes. That's how it dries. It doesn't actually like the way, water dries is the water evaporates. In oil paint, it doesn't, the oil paint doesn't evaporate, rather it oxidizes and then solidifies. And it goes through this process. It's a very slow and multi-stepped process that I don't understand all the steps, all the details to. But basically, it dries to the touch, and after it dries to the touch, it's still drying internally, and it slowly is drying for longer and longer, and so on. And so the fat over lean thing comes into play because of how long it takes to dry. You don't want to put one layer down and then another layer on top of it, and then have this layer on top dry and this layer underneath not dry yet, because what will happen is it'll crack the top layer as the second layer shifts and dries. These are all very, very, very subtle things that you can barely, in the beginning, you won't even perceive it. A lot of it, you can't perceive it, right? Like, you're not going to see the face of the face isn't going to melt as it, dries, right? It's in place. It's on a very, I don't know if molecular level is the right term, but yeah, microscopic, maybe. I don't know. That says, I suddenly got super tired and chilled. Be right back. Might make a pot of hot tea. Okay, enjoy. So, yeah, that's why you have to be careful with fat over lean. The idea being that fat layers take longer to dry, lean layers dry faster. So if you do a lean layer and then a fat layer over it, the one underneath will dry and then the one on top will dry later. Another way of looking at it is rigid and flexible. So you don't want to have a flexible layer and then a rigid layer on top of that, because it'll crack. So yeah, I don't know if that's helpful, if that explained it very well, but yeah. Excuse me for a second while I stretch my back.
I was going to go to the chiropractor today, but I didn't have enough time. So I didn't make it.
One day I'm going to figure out how to have my microphone set up so you all can hear what it sounds like when I stretch my back. I swear to God, you all are going to think I'm using bubble wrap and just popping it. Rincy says, "Thank you so much. I finally understand these things. Very good explanation." Oh, I'm glad that helped. Oh, something to note for water mixable oils. My understanding, I've used them, but I used a really cheap version that I'm not even going to claim to have a good understanding of using them, because the brand I used was so cheap and horrible. But what I would say is my understanding with using waterable mixable oils is you're not supposed to use the water to paint with. Apparently, a lot of people do, but you're not supposed to. And it will affect the drying time and the look of it if you do. You also might get some color shift. So what happens with oil paint is when you paint, technically, and I'll get into syncing in a second, but technically when you paint with oil paint, there's no color shift that happens. The paint goes on and then it dries and it's the exact same color, wet or dry, with a small asterisk, which I'll get to. But with acrylics, there's a big color shift because the water evaporates, and as the water evaporates, it changes the color. So if you're using water in your water mixable oils, you'll have the same effect because as the water evaporates, it'll change the color a bit. So it should dry, I think, lighter, if I'm not mistaken. No, darker. Shoot. Yeah, I think darker, but I could be wrong. I'm trying to remember. Does acrylics dry lighter or darker? Either way, one of them. Uh, Now, like I said, there's a bit of an asterisk because oil paint has two things that does happen. Some of the paint dries a little more matte versus glossy, and when that happens, the color looks like it changes a little, and sometimes it sinks, especially if you use like if you paint on something absorbent, or if you use Gamsol or turpentine or terpenoid or anything like that. Solvents will also make it sink a lot more, in which case it looks a lot flatter and more matte. And once again, you can lose some of that, like the color can shift a little. But with oil paint, once it's dry, you can oil out or varnish, when it's done. And it will return all that gloss that it lost. So like I said, it changes a little bit, but not really. The On acrylics and in gouache and everything, there's a big color shift, and it can be very frustrating to deal with that. So that's one of those things you have to kind of just give it time, and you'll get used to it to a degree. You think it dries darker for acrylics? Yeah, that's what I think. Gouache, gouache is special. Gouache the darks dry light and the lights dry darker. So gouache is just a huge pain. Um, yeah. That's my experience with gouache, at least. But yeah, so you might experience something similar with water mixable oils if you use water in the painting process. They do have mediums specifically for water mixable oils to function like turpentine or terpenoid or whatever, and so on. So that exists as well. So you don't have to use water, but I know a lot of people just do. I'm not advocating for it. I'm not advocating for any. I don't know enough to be able to advocate for, any particular process over the other. The water mixable oils I bought the cheapest brand I could, which was Reeves oil paints. I just wanted to try them. I was afraid of regular oil paints, and that was a mistake for a few reasons. One, I don't think that you should be afraid of regular oil paints, and I can get into that if anybody wants some safety and discussion around that. And second, Reeves water mixable oil paints are horrible, and do not use them. If you want to use water mixable oils, invest a little more and get something decent. What's decent? I don't know. I think Winsor Newton is considered good. I think Cobra or Blocks is considered good, and I don't know what else. Sorry, I don't have the experience with them to vouch for anything, honestly. Rinsky says, I have only used water for cleaning my brushes. I have the professional kind. Nice. Good. Good. You won't experience the awfulness that I experienced. Zan says, hey, gouache is my jam. Let's just say it demands willingness to live on the edge. Hey, I love gouache. I'm not going to talk I'm not talking bad about it. I'm just saying it can be very frustrating to deal with that. Okay, so here's the thing, right? With gouache, if you're doing a painting like this, like the one I'm doing right now, I could do that with gouache. But where I ran into big problems with gouache was I was doing a painting where I had like I was trying to do a very flat background with a character in front of it, right? And that did not work because what happened was I didn't pre-mix enough of the background color, and I was I was screwed after that. I could not mix, I could not match the color again. And I'm good at matching colors, but I couldn't match it because once it dried, it changed. And so I, for the life of me, could not match the color. And so I had to finally relent and like change the look of it to have a texture because I just could not match the color at all. But yeah, gouache is great. Um, Artisan and Schminky Norma Blue are my favorites. Those are your the water mixable oils. Nice. The other problem I ran into with gouache, I went plein air painting with gouache quite a few times, and the other problem I ran into was I went to a desert, and it was such a hot day that my paint would dry on my brush between going from the palette to the page. Dan says hot gouache tip: if you have to touch up a flat background, definitely go for brushy look. It's gouache command number one. Yeah, commandment number one. Yeah. I was trying to go for flat, and as soon as I realized I didn't mix enough, I realized I was screwed, and there was no way for me to do a completely flat background. Like it was just impossible. I could not match that color, to save my life. So, so yeah, I had to adjust. But gouache otherwise is really good. Mm. I recently did a watercolor painting, and I used to actually be more of a watercolor painter than oils or anything. And I really struggled with the watercolor. Uh, yeah. Um, I would find it really hard to go back to watercolors, I think. And the reason is not what you probably expect. It's the mixing of colors that's the problem with watercolors. I find you can't see what the color is going to be until you put it down. So the only way to like see what your color is going to be is to like paint on scrap paper to see it. before you put it down, and that it's just so tedious that I don't want to do that. I've lost interest in painting like that. So it's really interesting because I used to be, like I said, more of a watercolorist than anything else. Also, it's worth knowing there's acrylic gouache, and acrylic gouache is just a matte acrylic. It is not gouache. It's just acrylic that's supposed to look like gouache. Not saying it's a bad thing to use it. It has its advantages. It's way more, you know, uh, it doesn't reactivate. So that's an advantage if you don't like the reactivation of gouache, but it's not technically gouache. And as far as like, I would do want to, I said I'd mention this and I didn't, but as far as being afraid of painting with oils, I know I was afraid originally. Um, you don't have to use solvents. And if you're not using solvents and you're not using any medium with solvents in them, then you don't have to worry about fumes at all. Um, and then the only other areas that you have to be concerned about are your pigments, but pigments are toxic regardless of what medium they're in. So if you're using cadmium, it's toxic because cadmium is toxic, not because it's an oil paint, right? So if you're using acrylic cadmium, it's still toxic, to the same degree. Um, and then the only other thing with oil paint that you need to be concerned about is the potential for spontaneous combustion because oil soaked rags, if bunched up in the trash, they can potentially combust because of the heat that they generate. So you need to be cautious of that. And I'm pretty sure that that applies for water mixable oils as well. If you have you know, a bunch of paint that oil soaked rags without water, it probably applies to that as well. So you just need to be careful about that. Also, if you do woodwork, same thing applies. Any oil soaked rags can be dangerous that way. Um, so you need to handle them appropriately. I'm probably going to end the stream pretty soon. I'm feeling it today. I did not get a good night's sleep, and I'm feeling it today. Um, this week and next week. Wait, this week and next week. I don't know about next week. This week I'm going to keep my regular schedule of Monday night and Wednesday night. This is Central Time. Yeah. And then next week, I don't know that I'll be streaming next week. I'll let you guys know. Um, maybe Monday night, but that would be it. I'll definitely stream Sunday, so there's no problem there. I'm going to keep Sunday. And then uh, I'll put up a schedule when I can in the next couple, I don't know, next couple days or something. And like I said, I might be switching my stream days. Try it out. Um, we'll see. But yeah, a piece of advice for everybody getting into painting with real medium, regardless of the medium, don't eat your paints. That's one of the channel's motto is don't eat your paints. I actually knew a painter. She would put the tip of her brush in her mouth and pull the brush, out of her mouth to form the bristles and everything. She worked in watercolor. And like I said, toxic pigments are still toxic in watercolor, so a very stupid thing to do. And if anyone's curious, I have a Discord that you can join. And you can interact there, ask questions, all the Discordy things. I also notify everybody when I'm about to start stream, just as a reminder, on Discord to help people, because like YouTube sucks at reminding people on time. Good motto? Yeah, I think so. Alrighty. Yeah, I think I'm going to cut it early today. And then also Portrait Artist of the Year paint along. I'm shooting for May. I think it'll be fun to do sometime in May. I'll try and figure out when's a good day to do it. In case anyone isn't familiar with that, there's a show called Portrait Artist of the Year, and it's a Sky. It's a UK show, but they have it on Amazon now. So they also have some of the episodes on YouTube, but we try and do like imitate the show. So we pick an episode, pick a person to paint. I throw up some references for everybody in the Discord, and try and do it in 4 hours. Just for fun, and so on. So that'll probably be in May. Yeah. Anyways, thank you all for stopping by. I appreciate it. I don't do raids or anything because it's too complicated for me to figure out because I multi-stream on, so it's too much for me to figure out. But anyways, thank you everybody for stopping by. I appreciate it. I will be back here tomorrow night and Wednesday night and then Sunday again. That's it. Have a good one, everybody. Good night and take care. Yeah, you too. And like I said, join the Discord. You can share your art there, and you can what's it called? Uh, there's a feedback corner and so on. So yeah, get rest and catch you later. Yeah, man, I'm exhausted for some reason. All right, have a good one.